It matters, to be fair.
Yeah, it doesn't matter a ton. We know who's talking.
Okay, let's go ahead and get this promoted. They're starting the debate. They can't hear me. I'm muted.
Should have made a host channel. I don't even know what that is.
All right.
I don't do this Discord stuff, bro. If you couldn't tell, the reason why there's a debate evidence channel that no one can speak in is because everyone's already spamming in the fucking chat.
Yeah.
So it's like there's no way that's working during any kind of discussion. But
Oh, absolutely.
make the server a community server. It allows for a stage. Does
Here
that
we
not
go.
require a certain amount of people?
What is up, chat? I'm muted. I'm just gonna play
I've
Rivals
never
while we listen to
done
this
this type of thing
debate.
before.
Let's do this. I'm so
All
excited.
right. Well, maybe I'll look into it for the
Does
next
the audio
one.
sound good to you guys? I'll turn on some music.
Can't be
Too.
asked now, so stop talking about it, lads. Please.
What's up, Strix?
I
It
wonder
has
if
been a while. I haven't been streaming
Tanabata
as
is
much
going to
lately.
have a
really
Carnival
been
or a
playing
Gold
much
Coin
lately.
LR.
Get my stream playlist going.
Since they're changing that around.
I don't know, bro. I have not been keeping up to date with Dokkan. I've really not been enjoying it. I've been almost actively avoiding it. I played a little bit.
There we go,
for
chat.
this.
That's
probably the first
you know,
time I've
Strix,
played
it could have been
Smash
worse. Let's be honest, it
properly.
could have
Wow.
been worse.
I've been doing like daily runs and stuff. I've been enjoying the new content. Like I've come to like Festival of Battles.
Oh shit, the Rhoady switch up on Festival of Battles. I'm still not.
I'm
a fan
enjoying
of
it. There's a lot of
myself.
variety to it.
Yeah.
Variety? I don't know about that
It's
one.
Like
I don't know
Goku Story
about
Jiren
that
is fun. I feel
one.
like Goku Story Jiren, if he had higher numbers, would have been like a perfect fight.
Eh.
I don't know. I feel like HP should have been around the 300 million mark, I think.
I
Yeah,
like
I
where the
agree with that.
HP is at right now, personally.
Nah, it sucks, bro. It sucks.
Yeah, it sucks.
If
so
anything,
boring.
like Jiren should have had a little more HP, but
What?
I like how
Oof,
where it is.
no.
Because bosses should have enough HP to where you can use one of the powerful actives and they don't die in 2 seconds, because otherwise they don't have a chance to take you down. If the bosses are going to be difficult, they need to have enough HP to take what our units are dishing out.
Yeah, but I don't think our units are dishing out extraordinary amount. I think
Yeah, like,
Vegeta's
our
the
units
only one
aren't
that can
dishing
really
out
do
anything, man.
extraordinary amounts at the moment. I feel like if like Super Saiyan 2 Gohan was one-shotting bosses, I don't think that would have been hated. I feel like that actually would have been a good thing.
Yeah, I
feel
agree with that.
like if he's going to
I
be pure
agree with
damage,
that.
he should have been doing that. Like he should have been hitting as hard as Family Kamehameha. And I think the Family Kamehameha is a reason why Jiren doesn't just have 300 million HP, but has higher. Because if he only had like 300 million HP, the Family Kamehameha would still be one-shotting him.
Yeah, I think that's fine though. I honestly have
Yeah,
no
why
issue
not?
with that.
I think part of the reason HP is as big as it is because they didn't want the Family Kamehameha just one-shotting everything still.
Yeah. I don't know.
Because I had
don't
the
mind.
Family Kamehameha one-shot Red Zone Golden Frieza.
Yeah. No, I played around with it a little bit. I think it's okay. I definitely don't like Festival Battles. I think that is. Oh wait, no. Which one's Festival Battles? That's the
Festival
that's
Battles of the 50s phase 1.
Yeah, no, that one's crap. I hate that one.
I've just been having like the first 45 stages playing while I'm working on commissions and stuff, and then I'll like lock in once I get to Tech UI.
That's mad boring though. Like,
Yeah, it's still
I feel
boring.
like Festival Battles
damn
is
it.
like it's like a.
You could say it's boring. And,
I'm
like,
with Alan on
I
this
also see it
part.
like, okay,
Festival
the first,
Battles is,
if you're
like,
actively playing,
the
yes,
end
it is
of Festival
boring.
Battles
But then
is
when you
boring,
get to
but-
like the final phases and you see Super Saiyans 4 Gogeta with a 300 million attack set, oh, I love that.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I don't know, man.
The novelty of it wore off pretty quick. It's just kind of.
It's okay.
I think
I just
Dokkan
like
is going to need to have a numbers crunch, by the way, before
they
11th
do,
anniversary.
yeah. They definitely do.
It's yeah.
Because
I think I'm
right
kinda
now
going
you
in
can
that direction,
already
too.
hit the 32-bit limit for attack stats.
Yeah.
Like, with items, of course. Like, with items, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta in Festival Battles, he hits the bit limit.
Yeah. Just for the people that are joining, I think, Truth, I don't know, are you planning on recording it still?
So Truth is going to be involved. That's interesting.
Yeah. Hello.
I think he died. Rip.
We'll start at in a couple minutes when we get to whatever time it is for you guys. But yeah, I don't think there's too much else to talk about. So I think. Can you hear my fan?
Stop hitting me.
Because I've been told sometimes people can hear it.
I can't hear it.
No, truth, we aren't hearing you. You're unmuted, but you're.
Yeah, I can't hear Truth.
Let me hold on.
So on the thing Alan and Rhoady been talking about so far, I'm kind of more on Alan's side.
Hello. You know what? Hold on. Should be able to.
Well, I'm going into this debate. I'm probably more on Rhoady's way of thinking that VB was better.
Truth always with the computer problems.
But like, I can kind of see where Alan's coming from. Just
playing
VB,
Windows
like,
11 again.
He was very useful, but he was also his stats were quite weak. And Alan is a big stat guy.
What am I doing wrong? Oh.
I mean, he's unmuted.
Why? That's weird. Yes, it's showing Truth speaking on his side. I don't know why it's not working in the Discord. Hold on.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Truth. Hey, buddy.
There you
Oh,
go.
okay.
There you know.
What is
Hey!
Truth gonna add to this?
Damn,
I'm so
dude, I was
curious.
talking a million times, Alan, you fucker. Come on.
I know
Right.
it's a he,
Yeah. Like, so everyone's cool with that? Like, we recorded or whatever. I can put it up. It'd be a fun video.
Yeah,
I'm doing
fine
it.
with that.
I'm streaming it right
Okay,
now.
cool. Yeah,
they
sure.
can't hear me, but
And feel free to. I don't know if Alan's fine with it too, but you feel free to butt in whenever.
what's up, Dark Shadow? Alan has
Yeah.
made the
Oh,
Dokkan,
nah, I mean,
the
I'm not-
Dokkan
I'm
debate
like,
Discord.
I'm gonna let y'all handle this. I hate both of your fucking units, so. Good.
And that's why, like, you should butt in. It's entertaining.
We'll see.
You just got to button and back my beef as well.
This one,
That's
Shadow,
fine, cool.
Alan and Rhoady are debating on Fizz Ultimate Gohan versus
we'll get started
AGLVB.
then. So for everyone in the VC, Truth's recording it. So if you don't want to be in the recording or have like your name pop up or anything, then maybe might be a good time to leave.
Yeah.
Do we want to go over just some basic rules of the debate? I feel like it's worth saying.
I think that'd be good. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a for fun discussion. We're not trying to get owns. We're not trying to
Yeah, you are.
win. We're just having a good discussion. Hopefully we come.
It can be for fun, but you're definitely trying to get owns.
It's going to be good faith, hopefully. But
Good faith.
Yeah, it's not going to be like a clashing of heads or anything like that. But
I hope it is.
I have some stuff I just want to ask about what we're going to be talking about. Just around what kind of things we're valuing here, because what my goal is, so we can get like a consistent way of valuing both units, and then we can kind of come to an agreement. We can, if we're not, if we're not rating on the same stuff, then how are we ever going to agree on anything?
Right.
So, what kind of things are you currently rating on? So,
are they
you gonna
arguing like
include,
now or
even
like
stuff
on
that?
or like
'Cause I wasn't planning on
when
doing
VB
these.
released?
Yes, leader skill. Here, I have this written up in my notepad. How I rate units based off the best version of the team that has a unit on the team. Version of the team that are better, that don't include the unit, don't subtract from the unit. Example, Power of Wisdom with STR Gohan doesn't make Power of Wisdom with Zedo or worse. I wrote this like during last year's Worldwide Celebration, so you can tell it's a bit dated at this point, but you get the point there. How well the team does with them on it, how much the unit contributes to the run, and how well they work with the team. If they are fulfilling a role the team desperately needs to perform well, they'll be ranked higher. Example, a slot 1 unit on a category full of slot 2 units, because they let the team actually work. So like if during 2022 Worldwide Celebration, a slot 1 unit for STR Cooler would be ranked higher than a slot 1 unit on like a Vegeta and Trunks team, because that team already has slot 1 units. And for support units, how impactful their support is to the team, and if they're defensively viable. That's my TLDR of how I look at units. So, team cohesion and how much they're actually doing.
So let me just look at the teams you posted.
Okay.
So what are the rotations for that team? I know we kind of agreed that we'd have like ideal rotations for turn 1, but I had a question about your calcs about it.
Against Omega, the setup is Vegito Blue linked with Godku at the start, and then switches to the blue fusions once they actually transform, and then that's the rotations to the end. For Fusions Zamasu, it's blues and Godku, and then the other rotation is blues and either Future Gohan, Fusions Zamasu, just however the rotations work out, sometimes Bulma, but you have the main focus rotation of the blues with Godku.
So does Bulma float?
Bulma, it depends on how the starting rotations work out, because Fusion Zamasu is a very short fight to where you don't really have.
Okay, so they're doing it when
they're doing it when
VB
that's not a luxury. But sometimes she floats, sometimes she stays on main rotation. Just depends on how the starting rotations work out.
Okay.
But normally, I think she would float.
Does that so? See, I'm looking at the counts you've given, and the first thing I kind of spotted was
there's universal 37% support.
Yeah. Which
so
if
with Fusion
so
Zamasu, like I did a handful of runs before this, and Bulma did end up like being on the second rotation most of the time, just because of how things worked out.
Even if you even if you were like, say you could make an ideal rotation, so say they started with the blues started with Godku next to them, and then keep that as a rotation. Bulma would always be a floater there, wouldn't she? So like the support would not always be on the rotation. That's kind of
that's a fair argument there.
Okay. So I think that's just something
they're
to
doing
bear
the
in mind
APTs.
I'm not gonna, I don't think it matters too much in terms of the counts. I don't think it really makes a difference.
I think I agree more with Rhoady.
It would be
but let's see if Alan changes my mind.
In average support, that's not very super impactful because they have no phase 2. It's passive.
Yeah. But so so blues plus Godku, and then when the 5th year is transformed, they stay on main rotation. That's right, yeah?
Yeah, for Omega.
So something I think we should go over quick is which scenario do you prefer? Because I'd really prefer to talk about one. I don't want to be talking about Omega and Murtamasu. I feel like Murtamasu is like the one that would probably. I mean, it's up to you. I want to be charitable. I don't want to make you pick, but I don't know if it's a good idea to have both of those scenarios versus.
I mean, I think you're talking about 3 fights, right? MCC, Gammas, and Cellmax.
Yeah, but it's one time period. Like a decent chunk changes between, the first week and then the second week, because Future Gohan, Sword of Hope, stuff like that. I would personally say they're arguably above Blue Duo for me.
We can talk about both Fusion Zamasu and Omega, but with Omega, the only thing that would change at the end of the celebration I would add STR Future Gohan onto the team to replace the GT duo. So that would just lead to an increase in 30% damage.
Not really, Strix. I'm not really excited for them at all. I'm probably going to skip them.
Sorry, can you say that again? I missed that bit.
Yes. So we can talk about
that's what everyone says, Monk, but let's hear Alan out. Let's hear his case, bro.
Meta. Like, it did exist. Yeah. So the only thing that would change for the team that I have posted there for Omega at the end of the celebration I would just replace the GT duo with the STR Future Gohan.
Replace the GT duo with the STR Future Gohan. Okay.
And it would just be a little extra support from his domain expansion.
Ban.
Okay.
Ban.
All right. I don't think it affects too much. I mean, my main point really is just that in this discussion, are we saying that Future Gohan and Sword of Hope trunks have also dropped, or are we saying they haven't?
Yes. Well, we can discuss. It's the end of Worldwide Celebration for Vegito Blue.
It's the end. So okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it could be the end of New Year's for Ultimate Gohan.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine by me. So I think. Do you want me to make my points first, and then you can make your arguments afterwards, and you can kind of
go ahead. You're kind of the host of the debate.
Yeah. You can like rebuke my one first, and we'll go back to yours. you see my team. For those that are wondering where it is, it's in the debate evidence channel. It should be a couple above this. If you want to click it and look. I've made the team there. Rhoady's got their evidence as well. So that team is my ideal one. I think the hardest thing in this discussion is going to be talking about key, because key is super subjective. I know people say that they struggled a lot with Ohan. I personally never have. I've never seen how with that team, but it's not the best evidence.
My
I've
opinion
just
on
kind
the
of put
key
some
thing.
screenshots in there. That is a single run I did. I didn't do any other runs today. That's the only one I've done.
I
was
have
gonna
struggled with
screenshot
key with
the
Ulton,
attempt limit to
but there
prove
are
it,
some
but-
pretty easy builds you could
they've
run.
taken
Like
it out.
Orange
Forgot about
Piccolo
that, so
does
I
a really
didn't
good job
do
of
that.
fixing
But,
it. AGL Kid Han did a really good job of fixing it.
I think we talked a bit before this, but were you saying that you want to accept Ultan at 24 key? I personally wouldn't do that. I think we should do 20 and 24.
I would accept Ulton at 24 key past turn 1.
Okay, so turn 1, what are you saying? 20 key or?
Turn 1, I don't know, that's kind of random just because it's turn 1. You have no control over key at that point. But I feel like 20 is fair.
Okay. I would argue, and I know you just agree with that, but I'd say for the people listening, I would argue 20 is fair on double Orange Piccolo team because
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
you have a lot of support and a lot of control.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
You look at the rotations you can start with. There is not a single rotation where Ultan isn't getting supported or getting Rainbow changing or key or any of this. Like, he's always got help on that team, no matter what starting rotation there is. That's part of the reason why I think it's such a strong team for that time. Something before we go forward, I'd say, do you agree that that team shown there is one of, if not the strongest team on release at the time?
Yes, in fact, I
Yeah, it
was
was.
doing runs with Ultimate Gohan yesterday, and I was like, okay, let's try and make a team for superheroes on release, and that's the exact team that I had put together for superheroes.
Okay, yeah. So
No, that killed me.
so
Alan, real quick, where are you putting this? Not to be
it's-
dumb, but there's 50 channels all over.
So, yeah,
I'll at you in the channel.
yeah. This server is all we got
you should-
now.
Debate
This server
evidence
is all
channel.
we got.
Yeah, I think
The one
everyone.
with
I was just-
red
I didn't
balloon.
see Alan's team. The team you're referring to is at the top?
Yeah,
Yeah,
at the top.
it's up pretty far.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Because Alan said something as though he had just placed something there. That's why I was looking. I was like, I don't see anything. Okay. All right, cool.
No, mostly everything there is already posted.
People farming for the video on the emotes, bro. I'm gonna take the emotes out.
Yes, sir. We're farming. Yes, sir. We are farming all day long.
So
we are
I think
farming
the first
hell
point
out
I
of
want
this
to
for
make,
content.
just so we get past it,
Sweet,
You would agree,
beautiful,
or
delicious
maybe you wouldn't agree.
content.
that on release, Ultan was probably the most damaging unit in the game. I say probably. I think he was. I think you could. There's not really.
I think
many
that's fair.
arguments for
I
other
think that's fair to
units
say.
above.
He's definitely one of the hardest hitting units of his time. Let me pull up something I've been working on real quickly. Where did Ultimate Gohan fall on this? Okay, so I'm currently working on a project.
Is Rhoady gonna say? Is Rhoady gonna say Z Duo? Alan is gonna.
It's
Alan
not
is gonna
fully done
tweet
yet, so I don't
the
wanna
fuck out
share
if,
it because
if
it's
Alan if
incomplete.
Rhoady says Z
But
Duo.
I
hope
the
Rhoady
time,
says
Ultimate
Z-Duo.
Gohan, I had him as the second hardest hitting unit in the game behind STR Final Form.
Wait, no, Z Duo was next month.
See,
I'm dumb.
I've looked at SCR Cooler's numbers. I really
Oh,
focused on
cooler. Okay.
Alan's.
Alan's not gonna
I
like
mean,
that either.
Okay, so say for turn 1, for example, and turn 3, what numbers do you have in that?
Let me pull up my spreadsheet because I have a lot here. If you want to continue making a point while I get this together, because it's going to take a minute, go ahead.
Okay, I'll talk about Cooler for a bit.
All right, cool.
Because I think that there's a lot of stuff that's kind of weird around Cooler's numbers. I mean, for one, most of the sheets I use give him an insane amount of support. The numbers I've used in this chat are quite... I mean, they're pretty low support-wise. I think, what is it, 26% support or something like that average? Cooler, for some reason, got given an insane amount of support in all the, in all the APT sheets and stuff that people did. I mean, I know why. It's because people just like the unit. But the units that are often supporting him at the time Ultan released were quite bad. in the in the new stages. Like SGR Final Form Cooler, I think kind of just got shit on in like the Gamma's red zone and by Cell Max and stuff like that.
He kind of
Like, Cooler really
that's
did not
low key
have
true.
a
He
good
wasn't
spot
great in the
at
Gamma's
the
red
time
zone.
in those stages.
I agree with that.
And it kind of made running him with those supports damn near impossible. I think there was probably a time, and even without those, even with those supports, sorry, Cooler only really was hitting harder on maybe 1 or 2 turns. I think when he gets to go in, the active turn he can hit harder on, depending on the scenario. And after the active turn, so what, like turn 7 plus, he can hit harder as well.
That's what I'm showing for this. I have
but what
the
support do you
average.
have for it?
I'm giving him the 50% support from the Easy ASTR cooler.
Yeah, see, I don't know. That seems kind of unfair to me because I don't think SGR Cooler was great in content at the time.
But they were kind of like the best friends. You ran them together.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree, but I just think that SGR GUR Cooler was getting weak at the time. Like, you couldn't really run him in a lot.
And I could go off on a tangent of how much I hated the cooler team. I could yap about that all day, but that's not what we're here to talk about.
Yeah. I just think that, if we're talking about hardest hitters, we have to be... yeah, Luke, can you do that, please, actually? It's starting to annoy me, I can't lie. I think it's just kind of a little bit hard to include that in the discussion if we're talking about pop damage dealers, because we've got to be realistic. Like, if you can't really run it in events, then how can we say?
But they're very like relative. Like, if you twisted my arm and was like, say Physical Ultimate Gohan is the hardest hitting unit in the game, I would yield to you very quickly because they're very close. I can concede that point.
Okay.
And I have no problem with that.
Rhoady's giving it
Before we
to him.
move on, then, do you think that Ultimate Gohan was better than Cooler on release?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, easily.
All right, then it's irrelevant anyway. Then, so we'll just move on. So I probably should have said this first. Actually, I've kind of. I'll ask you on your opinion, but I've kind of sussed up about 3 or 4 units that I think can be arguable against Alt Han at the time of his release. And I personally place him at number 2 on release. I think that you could argue. I mean, some of them I don't think you could argue, but I think that people could argue.
I'm gonna bet on
Gamma
the
2 and
people
Gamma 1,
voting for Rhoady because
either one.
everyone hates Fizz
I don't
Ultron. Like,
agree with either.
if
I'll
this
tell
is
you
coming
why
to a vote,
afterwards,
Rhoady
but,
wins. Like, no matter what.
Those are 2 possible units. Vegeta and Trunks, I think, is probably the
Kenza, it's
biggest
Fizz
contender,
Ultimate Gohan versus
and
AGL
Cooler.
VB.
I'm not adding the gods because that's just wrong and just like it's like objectively wrong. They were not better. They were just worse in every single way.
I don't know, man. The gods were
but
pretty freaking good back then.
Vegeta and Trunks, I think, is the one.
But yeah,
that is- and Orange Piccolo.
I don't know.
Orange Piccolo was number 1. That's
Orange Piccolo was number 1.
Off
Is
the
there
top of
any
my
other
head for the time, I would have
Yeah.
Vegeta and Trunks, Orange Piccolo as like
Yeah.
the 2 obvious ones, and then I would also put Birdcoo over him
Why?
for the revive.
Uh.
It was very helpful for the Cell Max fight, and it's very powerful on Vegeta and Trunks' team.
for the Cell Max?
I don't think Alan's
What,
gonna
the-
fuck with that argument because he tends
Do
to
you mean the,
he tends
the
to
event-
not
the
value
event one.
utility as high as some other people do.
Is that a fair reason to put Birdcoo above Ultron when Ultron literally like one-shot that fight?
I feel like
I feel-
Birdcoo's
I-
utility.
Yep,
Yeah,
but
but
the utility.
come on,
Alan's
bro.
not gonna like it.
Let's be fair here. Are we for real putting Birdcoo over Ultron?
I think they're like
See,
similar
Alan's
tier.
for that, but it's like that revive
Because Birdcoo's
saved
revive
me
was very
so
free,
hard.
and like it let me beat the fight with the Cyberman.
I didn't really have him back then.
I mean,
but like,
Which is kind of
okay.
funny.
Let's not.
I had them like on
Like-
the same tier though. I had them like on the same tier. They're
it's like
sort of
Alan's saying like
interchangeable.
just for that.
I
but
can't
it's like,
see how. I wasn't going to include the Cell Max event because I feel like that's kind of unfairly.
Like the
skewed
revive's
towards
just a
Ultron.
really big deal.
Yeah.
but
It really did a lot.
if
and
you're
it is
saying-
because he's buffed in that fight.
yeah, he's buffed, and like if you're saying Birdcoo's better because of that, like I don't know. That's.
But
a
I'm saying like
hard-
Cell Max fight because that's at the top of my head. But like he's also gonna be better in Metal Cooler Core. The other
that's-
Cell Max fight.
How?
I think Ultron's
Because he's
probably better in Metal
Got the
Cooler
revive
because you
and
could
he's
easily just
stacking
set
defense.
up and
He's guarding.
kill.
He's a defensive unit. Slot 2 unit for Vegeta and Trunks gives links. Does mid damage, but he's a defensive unit. He's just not gonna die. and if he does die,
doesn't die.
he revives.
Superheroes doesn't die as a team.
Neither team
And
dies.
that's people running. Well, it does. I think Birdcue's and Vegeta and Trunks' team can die in those events, but I think that Vegeta and Trunks. All right, I'll talk about Vegeta.
It's easier for them to die than
and then we'll go to
superheroes.
Birdcue because I think Birdcue is just like easier to argue.
It's easier for those teams to
and
die
Trunks.
than
I mean-
superheroes, for sure.
Superheroes, you agree, is the best team in the game at the time. Vegeta and Trunks, they had their own team. They had bond of parent and child, didn't they? Are you one of these guys that thinks that you have to rate on different teams, or do you agree that it doesn't really matter about the teams? If there's one team that is strongest in the game, you don't have you can just rate on that team, or are you saying
I look at a unit
Because I definitely
on
think having
their
a bunch of
best
really good
setup.
teams is
I
a
don't
plus.
care how many teams are on. That
I
doesn't
care a
affect the
little
ranking
bit.
for me.
I care some.
We can talk about if a unit has value.
I'd
then
say
we
a
can talk
unit
about, okay,
having a whole
yeah,
bunch of
them being
teams
on more
and
teams
being good
is
on
better
them
for their
is
value.
definitely
But
a
if we're
plus.
talking about like how good is this unit, it's just the best setup that matters in my eyes.
But what if that best setup is shit,
I
though?
agree. So Vegeta and Trunks, do you think on their best setup they're performing better than on his best setup?
In a vacuum, no, because they're not outputting the same level of damage, and they do take some damage from super attacks in slot 1. But in my opinion, there's more, like, this is a team game. The reason Vegeta and Trunks are as high as they are for me at that
That's
time
something people have to say
is
to Alan a
because
lot.
their
This is a
leader
team
skill
game.
was by far the best in the game, and
That
you
counts.
just
That
had
counts for
access
something.
to so many units, and that allowed them to just let other units function and work, which allowed you to create a cohesive team that just worked.
I don't want to have like a like an own point, but you're saying that you agreed with me that if you rate on the best team for a unit, how can you say that and then simultaneously say that a unit is good because it provides a variety for teams and for units? Surely it would only matter what team is best in the game.
Sure, I rate the unit's performance, off of their best team. But also at the same time, the reason that the team exists is because of their leader skill. So if Vegeta and Trunks didn't have a leader skill that's as good as it is, say they ran something stupid like, I don't know, joined forces and, I don't know, a hypothetical Gallic gun category, like the team would suck and they would suck because they have no team.
Yeah.
But because they lead bond of parent and child, because their leader skill is so good, that's why their team is so good.
But why does that matter? Why do you care about that?
Because if they didn't exist, the team couldn't exist.
Right, but I don't give points for that. I personally don't give points for that. I don't see why we should give points for that.
I give points for that because say
why?
Say Orange Piccolo or Ultimate Gohan, say they didn't lead superheroes.
That's
say
a good
Orange
point. That's
Piccolo
a good point.
led Namekians and they weren't under each other's leader skill.
Right, yeah.
The leader skill has value, and that leads to how good the unit is.
I don't disagree the lead has value, but my point is that the lead is not the issue here. The issue is that you're rating them higher because they're giving more units access to a team. But you're also saying
I'm rating them higher because they're able to make this great team actually possible because of their leader skill.
But you're only rating on the best version of that team.
Yes.
You see how that's a little bit like it doesn't work. It's like if you're rating on the best version of the team, why does it matter if they give more units access to a lead skill?
It matters because they're the reason that team even exists.
I don't know. I can't follow that logic. I'm sorry. I don't get that.
It kind of makes sense to me.
I'm not trying to be confrontational. I just don't. I can't see how that works. Like that seems.
I just don't really know how else to explain it. I don't know.
Look, we'll move on. I personally don't agree. I think that I don't give value. I'm not giving value.
Well, that's part of my reasoning for why I liked Vegeta Blue as much as I did. because their leader skill was
They did have a pretty sick.
maybe
Oh
the
god.
best in Dokkan history.
I don't know about all
They
that. I don't know about
Pretty
all
much
that.
led the game, and that allowed you to run.
It was
any
good, but I don't know about
combination
the
of
best in
units, which
Dokkan
allowed
history.
you to build a super powerful team.
Do you not think this is a
Like
forefront
Earthbred
argument?
Fighters was
Because
probably just about
if
as
you're
good,
if you're
if
rating
not
on the
better.
best version of the team, the only way I can see this working is like a line of logic, is if it's for a fun perspective. Like they have a lot of units on their leader skill, but you're only if you're talking about it in like a discussion sense, you're
Okay,
only
so
looking at the best version of the team.
Here's like a kind of a point here. Let's say the Blues did not lead super class, and you just had their main leader skills. Okay, the team is still fine, but you lose access to the best unit in the best support unit in the game, LR Bulma. You add on the super class leader skill, and all of a sudden, LR Bulma gets added to their team. Because of their leader skill, you can run LR Bulma with other units that you otherwise would not be able to run with her. And so that's part of their value. Their leader skill allows you to run LR Bulma with other units you otherwise wouldn't be able to.
No, look, Rhoady, I'm not disagreeing.
Oh,
with
no.
the leader skill.
Yeah.
I'm
the
saying
name saying
if
we
you're
got
agreeing you're
Alan
rating
saying
the best version
Rhoady.
of the team,
We got Alan saying Rhoady.
how does this provide value to the unit? It doesn't matter if they are giving the lead to more units because you're only looking at the best version of the team.
And the best version of the team only exists because
I'm kinda
their
with
leader
Rhoady
skill is
here.
as good as it is.
And that's
That's what I'm saying.
I'm not
I
disagreeing
definitely
with
give a
that,
lot of
but
points
what
to
I'm
the unit has a
disagreeing
crazy
is the fact
leader
that
skill and are a good leader.
Them giving more units at home on the lead, giving more units of variety for a team, doesn't matter because
I
you're.
mean,
only
I think
looking
it
at the best
matters.
version
Why
of the
wouldn't it
team.
matter?
So they might as well only lead 7 units. Do you get what I'm saying?
Sure. But it's about what 7 units they're leading.
And no, I agree with that bit. Like that's fine. It's just
Like AGL Ginyu, his leader skill isn't going to be as good because he's leading a much smaller subsection of units. Than
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that. That's not what I'm arguing against. I'm just saying that you're giving like a point here for the width of their leader skill as opposed to the actual strength of their leader skill. And I'm not saying that you're not also rating on strength, but I'm saying that the sheer fact that they have that many units on their leader skill, in my opinion, does not provide more value. The actual thing that provides value is the best form of that team.
And the best
I'm
form
not
of that
and
team only
because of
exists
their
because the
they
leader
can
skill
run
what
the
it is
best
what it
units
is.
in the game.
Yes, and I agree
Yeah.
with that bit. That's not what I'm.
Okay.
That's not what I'm disagreeing with. I'm just saying that. So say, I don't know.
God.
There's 2 units, and they both have great leads.
Mm-hmm.
The unit with say it's a Vegeta and a Goku, and the Vegeta has the functionally better team on the best form, but his lead only has 20 units.
Mm-hmm.
The Goku has 200 units, but a functionally worse form of that team. Are you giving value to the Goku simply because?
No,
he-
Vegeta takes it.
Yeah, because it's a better version of the team. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm not I don't think that it's what you're saying is wrong for like for fun sense. I'm just saying that in terms of like, this debate, I just want to make sure we're fair here.
My sort of TLDR for why I have Vegito up with his leader skill is because he allows LR Bulma to be run with the top tier units. You
I need
otherwise
more
wouldn't be
truth
able to run with
interjections,
her.
bro. Truth hasn't
And
said
I
a thing
agree
yet.
with that, but just to
Okay.
be clear, it's because it's only because of these set units on the team. I'm not saying that it
Yes,
doesn't
it's
help
with
that you
these
can run
set
other
units. Yes.
Okay, so it's just those 7 units. That's
Like,
the,
they could
value,
specifically be leading these units, and because Bulma is under that umbrella, that gives the value for me.
Okay, yeah. So let's move on. Let's not
Okay.
like get a stickler here. But so I suppose where were
my
we? We were talking
God.
about teams. I think the next point probably. So we're talking about Vegeta and Trunks, weren't we? You say in a
We were,
vacuum that Alt-Han performs better than Vegeta and Trunks, which I
In a
agree
vacuum,
with.
Gohan's
I-
going to be doing more damage. He's taking supers better. Yeah.
But if we're looking at a one set team, why would in a vacuum not automatically make it better?
The cohesion. I feel like Vegeta and Trunks just had better synergy with the team than Ultimate Gohan had. Because Ultimate Gohan, you
know if I agree
are
with that.
having to sacrifice some ki for other units. Granted, it's a team of mostly TURs. Ki is not going to be a big problem, so you're really only sacrificing Ki for Orange Piccolo. But you're still having to work around that, and Gohan doesn't always have the Ki right out the gate, and you pretty much, if you want to see him at max power, you have to use his active skill on his second appearance, and you have to keep him on rotation. So there isn't a ton of freedom with seeing that all-out turn, and then after that,
oh my god, dude.
I don't know. This is a little bit hard for me because I think like I agree with some of your points. I do agree with some of your points, but with the content released at the time, do you think it mattered that you would prefer to active on the second appearance?
Most time you can active on the second appearance and you'll be fine. The only places where this isn't ideal would be like against a Metal Cooler Core. Say Ultimate Gohan is turn 1. The first turn you can get to Metal Cooler Core is turn 4. So you're kind of screwed out of the max turn there.
Okay, I can agree with that. I think that's a valid point. I think you can still save the active.
You can absolutely still save the active. It's just going to hit a bit weaker, and the turn isn't going to be as impressive.
I agree with that. I would still say, in terms of the damage it does, it's still like in comparison to other units at the time. It was probably
it's still up there. It's still up there.
It's still like above, like the LR gods and stuff like that. It's still at that level. Mm-hmm. So it's still, I would still say, I agree with your point, but I don't think it necessarily makes a massive difference to the argument against Toha. I do think that rotations were a big thing. I think that's a valid point against Toha. But
God, this Olympia's
I
kicking
think
my
for
ass.
the content at the time, the one stage I would say it probably did matter. Like you did have to say the
it's for the love of the game, Shadow.
Apart from that, obviously for Cellmax is a one phase event.
Yeah, you can just pop it whenever you want.
The Cellmax gimmick one was, what was it? It was 3. Was it 3 phases? I can't even remember. I think it was 3 phases.
The Cellmax event? Yeah, it's 3 phases.
Yeah, but they all just. I mean, that basically doesn't matter. As soon
they
as you
melted.
got the last stage, you won with Orange Piccolo and
Yeah.
Gohan because it was just like you used the Giant and then you use the active, they're dead.
That event became so free once they added the boost.
I think so. For Vegeta, I mean, do you think that Gohan on this team performed better than Vegeta and Trunks did on their team for the current?
They've been on this
stages?
Vegeta and Trunks tangent for a while.
If we're just talking performance, yes.
Right. I'm struggling to see the difference here between performance and whatever other value you're adding in here. To be honest, I don't really get where the extra value for Vegeta and Trunks is coming from. Why is performance not the only thing that matters, or the main thing that matters?
Because Vegeta and Trunks allowed the team to work. One of the points I brought up earlier with like how I look at units is this unit providing something the team lacks? Ultimate Gohan, like, we know what his role is.
Sunduck, just because 2025 isn't interesting enough.
Unit. I don't think you can disagree with that, right?
No, I agree.
I mean,
with that.
Miku.
Okay. Vegeta and Trunks.
Miku, change your
are
YouTube name so I call you
unit
Miku
that
immediately instead of calling you
there.
Sunduck and then correcting myself.
And they just eat attacks. That is their role, and it allows other units to work as slot 2 attacking units. 2022, we didn't get a ton of slot 1 unit. So Vegeta and Trunks being able to fill that role,
there's 88 people in this
and
voice
has
chat,
them up
bro.
there. And on top of like the thing I mentioned earlier, the only reason you could run the team that you're running with them is because they exist.
Look, I think we are circling back to this point again.
Oh, we're
where
circling.
We have a disagreement.
We are
I
circling.
think we both get it. Like, we have a disagreement on fundamentals here. I don't care about other teams. I care about the best team, and that's it.
Right.
Like, none of this has value to me. Like, if that has value to you, then that's just something we disagree on, and that's it. If you want to, argue Vegeta and Trunks above because that's, I honestly don't think it matters in the long run because I don't even. I mean, we'll get to it when we get to VB, but I think that, for time's sake, we can agree to disagree. I think that, would you say? I mean, for Bird Q, there's no way you're arguing team though. Like, why is he better?
Oh yeah, his leader skill. Who cares about that? He could lead a team segment for all I care. Yeah, his His leader skill carries no value because Powerful Combat wasn't great, but Birdcoo, what he was he was a defensive stacker. You can safely put him in slot 2 and 3, and he is there to get you out of tricky situations. Units, in my eyes, that are super valuable are units that can help you recover from situations that the boss puts you in that you are not ready for by being ready for those situations. So say you eat a super with a unit you really did not want to. Birdcoo is there and say, shall I save you, Mahito? And he just revives. He is there when things go wrong.
What team are you running Birdcoo?
Vegeta and Trunks' team.
Do you not think that he loses value because Vegeta and Trunks are the better slot 1?
No, just run Birdcoo in slot 2. You didn't have to go in slot 1.
Birdcoo's value, in my eyes, is his revive.
I don't know. That feels like a bit of a contradiction, bro. I can't lie. I
disagree.
don't mean.
I'm with Rhoady on this one.
Confrontational again, but did we not say that earlier that slot 1s? I think I remember you saying it. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think we said earlier that slot 1s lose value if there's other slot 1s on the team that are better.
You didn't have to run them in slot 1 though.
Yeah.
Just run them in slot 2.
For me, it's more. Technically, yes. It's more like slot
Birdcoo's value wasn't really
value
a slot 1-ing.
if they're on a team with a massive slot 1 deficit. But if a slot 1 is outside of slot 1, it comes to, okay, what else is this unit doing? And for me, that is Birdcoo's revive.
Yeah. Okay.
Alan is always weirdly kind of underestimated, like,
we'll move on. Let's move on to this.
protection, stuff like that.
I'm loving looking at the general chat. It's so funny.
Yeah. I'm trying not to look at it, to be honest.
This is the racket.
Yeah.
I'm loving this.
Oh god. No. Oh.
Are there any other units you'd argue over Alt-Han at the time? And then we'll move on.
Gamma 1.
Killed it. Gamma 1. Why?
Gamma 1. Amazing
Just for
slot
defense,
1. Just for his defense. Like, he is...
Where is he slot
You
1?
can still kind of get away with running him today.
What team are you running him at the time then?
On Superheroes at the time.
Why would you... Yeah, but Orange Piccolo's on that team. Why do you need Gamma 1 for slot 1 on that team?
Works well with Gamma 2. Like, you can run the Gamma 1, Gamma 2 rotation. It's a very powerful rotation.
Yeah, but it's worse than the other rotations on the team. I don't see why you'd run it.
Ooh.
I know, I haven't run that exact setup in a very long time, so... Gamma 1,
2.
I just remember... I remember him being better, but, like, it's been over 2 years at this point.
Gamma 2's damage is lower than most of the units we're talking about at the moment. Like, Gamma 2
it is a little bit lower. Yeah.
He was a decent damage dealer, but he was lower than pretty much, Gohan, Cooler, like Gods, any of these units, he was lower than them.
Gamma 1, I feel like he's better defensively than Orange Piccolo once Orange Piccolo loses his guard.
One more thing then, before we move on, Gohan, and we'll go
for it.
Okay, actually, I probably should have said this.
Oh,
you agree that the Superheroes team was effectively infallible when it came to any event at the time because of Orange Piccolo's Giant? So you had turn 1, turn 3, they had intro and guard. Turn 5, use Giant. And then, typically, I mean, you can see it in the evidence channel. That run I did ended turn 6 on Cellmax, who was like one of the tankiest bosses at the time.
Yeah, no. Superheroes was like the best team in the game.
Yeah, it would be over by that point. So, one thing I just want to, and I don't know if you disagree with this or not, I just want to say it for the audience as well if they're watching. Ultima Gohan was effectively invincible at the time. There was no supers that could kill him during his intro was up.
Oh god.
He was talented.
After that, you had Orange Piccolo, and I was using this argument for years, and I think people, the thing people kind of disagreed with was
why is that so safe?
That Orange Piccolo's Giant towards Ultima Gohan. I don't think that matters. I think that people.
Yo, what's up, Caesar?
It didn't affect
Birdcoo's value was aura.
Like, people were.
Alan, it is 2025. Let's go.
They did not care.
I've always been of the mind that if a unit's best friend has access to utility that is very free next to that friend, then they
someone needs to ask Alan
have
like
access to that
if Orange Piccolo's like
I agree, and I think
giant
that
was
most people
was so good.
would
Why
agree
was
now,
why
and for
isn't
some reason didn't at the
Birdcoo's
time.
revive
Maybe
so
it's just
good,
because
I
it was the
guess.
first type of synergy we had, but
like Tech Vegito or Tech Super Vegito, he has access to AGL Super Gogeta support. That makes him even better. Like, we're not going to ignore AGL Super Gogeta's 54% attack support next to Vegito. Like, come on.
All right, so let's move on. I mean, where after talking a little bit, you'd have him. You'd have Vegeta and Trunks above.
Vegeta and Trunks above him. Gamma 1. Birdcoo maybe. Like, that's where the
I'm struggling with Birdcoo and Gamma 1. So you'd say like 4 to 5-ish. I'm
4 to
struggling with
5-ish,
Gamma
yeah.
1. Birdcoo.
That sounds fair.
We can come back to it if we need to at the end, but let's go
Okay.
to Vegeta. So do you want to lay your points out for Vegeta Blue?
Sure. I've kind of gone into it already about the leader skill, but like we've come to like agree to disagree there. Vegito Blue in base, I know there's a lot of revisionist history around them, but they were one of the very few units you could put in slot 1 against Fusion Zamasu, and they're just gonna go, nom, thank you, give me more. Like, even if they didn't dodge a super attack, they're not taking a ton of damage. And even if they do take the super attack, fusion time. Like, so that's part of their value, is they're able to go slot 1 without any difficulty in an era without too many slot 1s. People love to complain about 2023, and rightfully so, because we just got so many units that are purely slot 2 in an era with an AoE boss. So there's that. They're able to go slot 1 in an era
That is a thing that Dokkan
of
did.
slot 2s. And that is part of their value, like I mentioned earlier. And then you have the actual fuse state, which I have a controversial take about the fuse state, which I know a lot of people disagree. And part of my problem with Vegito Blue, like if I was going to criticize the unit, is that the fuse state wasn't made powerful enough for me, in my opinion. But the fuse state does still have value. It has the 50% defensive support when using the Ultra Super Attack, which is very useful against bosses like STR Mega and Into Mega, because that extra 50% defense support, that's going to allow units to take Omega's AoEs a lot better. So that's something that they were doing for the team, was allowing you to actually live. And they had the 100% dodge turn, which of course, you can't say 100% dodge isn't powerful. It was during an era with no dodge canceling, so they were able to just do that and run free.
So I missed a bit about the so just to go back about the active condition, because I think that's going to be a stickler for me. So sorry,
Okay.
what was your comment on the active condition?
I didn't really have a comment on the active condition. For me,
sorry.
the active skill condition has always been free, at least for the fusion. Now, if we want to talk about like post-fusion, the active there, where you have to be below 50% HP, that's where I'm just like, okay, that's getting to a point where I'm not a fan. But just below the 70% HP, that's not a massive deal, because what you can do with that, hypothetically speaking, is say you have the rotation of AGL Blues and Physical God Goku. Put Physical God Goku in slot 1, put AGL Blues in slot 2. Say, like, you know you're gonna be fine for the rest of the rotation, you have slot 3 locked down, the next rotation is good. The Blues, if they can take a little bit from the AoE in slot 2, they can take a super attack in slot 2, and you're below the HP threshold nice and easily with that, and so you're ready to fuse. Same with against Tech Omega, that if they eat a super attack in any of the slots, congratulations, you're ready to fuse. And there's no risk of them dying, because during those first turns against Tech Omega, he's dodge canceling, so you don't have to worry about them dodging an attack that you don't want them to dodge, and they're defensively viable enough to where they can tank that attack. Because if I recall correctly, they have like 350% defense with their intro in slot 1, which was a lot of the time.
The
with
4 mil
guard,
attack stat
they
demon.
weren't taking much.
We love
damage at all,
AGLVB.
but enough to where it's non-lethal, controllable damage for the fusion.
See, it's interesting because you have a couple units there. I mean, a big thing for me on that one is you've got units that are going to take a lot from the super if they get super good, like the blue duo, not the blue duo, the 50th fusions. if they get supered by Tech Omega, they're going to take quite a lot.
They did.
I think that's probably true.
I was doing Omega runs this morning, and in one of my runs, I did have STR Gogeta. He ate a super attack from Tech Omega, and he took 350k.
Okay.
Which, okay, that's a sizable amount, but that's only a little under half HP of the HP pool, which you can recover from, and also, you're ready to fuse with that. They're only in base for 1 turn. If they eat a super attack, you're taking less than half HP. That is completely manageable.
How do you control when the 5th years transform?
Mostly that's based off of starting rotations. Like, okay, when do I think I'm going to get to STR Omega? Because usually you want them to transform during the first turn of STR Omega, but sometimes that doesn't always work out. They can, but so long as if they transform against Tech Omega, you want Tech Omega to have enough HP to actually survive their first turn onslaught. That way you're not stuck against STR Omega without their buildup and without their dodge. And you just control that by gauging how your rotations are. It's kind of hard to like exactly describe. Like, it's trying to describe muscle memory of a certain action. It's not really something that you articulate. It's just something you get a feel for.
I don't know. That's hard for me to get behind, Joyce. I feel like
it's not a great argument. I can attest. I can agree with that, but it's also it comes to knowing how to play the game, I suppose.
I think there's a lot of luck involved in that process, and when I found and that's not even using this team. That's just using a different team in general. But I found when I was using the 5th years in that stage, a lot of the time they either transformed in the first phase because I couldn't do enough damage because I wasn't bringing like int units and stuff like you've got on that team. There's no int units, so you're going to struggle getting through that phase.
And I purposely don't bring in units. Like, that's one of my things in Super Saiyan 4 Goku was that he
they were taunting
went
the Shadow
through the
game
first phase too quickly, so you ended up against STR Omega without any build-up. But with that team, I'm able to pretty easily and consistently have the blues transforming against STR Omega, and the runs just go smoothly from my experience using that team.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, bro. I just don't think that's a great team for Omega. I think it works, but I think there's a lot of RNG that goes into that. You'd agree there were better teams at the time, like in Forku, for example.
Yes, specifically for Omega, the best team is the Z Duo team with STR GT Duo lead.
So in that period, what makes you say the Blue Duo were the best then? Or
to be specific, Dark Shadow, I think it was a 2.1 million attack
stat. Vegeta Blue was the best unit in the game at the time of their release. I don't think they ever were. Like, I think...
Hold on. We have... I think we found a tier list earlier, bro. I think we found a tier list.
Like, thinking back, like, retrospective analysis, like, they were not one, Orange Piccolo was. Like, I can acknowledge that my logic can be fallible, like, when it comes to rankings. Like, there's plenty of times where I go back on rankings and I'm like, no, what the heck was I thinking? I was wrong there. Like, when we got Fizz,
I've had those moments, for sure.
Everyone loves to bring this up. When LR Janemba's Easy A details got brought up, I put LR Janemba at 34. I was being completely stupid when I did that. I don't know what I was thinking. I was clearly wrong. He's a lot higher.
The Easy A brats over Janemba, like, the legend.
I can look back at old tier lists and I could say, no, I was wrong there. I don't mind saying that.
I'm having fun with Claren right now.
So if you think you're wrong, why don't we go through? So I've posted the old tier list in that chat.
Yeah.
Why don't we go through the units that are on there and
it's a
tell me
freaking
which ones you
Loxodont.
think retrospectively are better or were worse. So like for Bulma,
I would have Orange Piccolo and Bulma above them.
Just Orange Piccolo and Bulma. Why not Future Gohan?
Future Gohan, part of it is because
I'm gonna get my ass beat. I hate this matchup.
Vegeta Blue has like the leader skill. So they have the leader skill over Future Gohan. They're doing sort of comparable damage on like post fusion versus Gohan's built up. Gohan,
that's fair.
The thing about him is a lot of his value is his domain expansion. But against Fusion
Oh, God, the
Zamasu,
domain
you are not
expansion.
seeing that a lot of the time. Because you're finishing up Fusion Zamasu.
I disagree with that. I think you're
pretty
usually
quickly,
seeing
and
a domain.
Future Gohan has a similar weakness to Vegeta Blue, where it's turn 5, start a turn. He has that bad condition for his domain expansion, similar to the other Worldwide Celebration units, because, 2023, year of weird designs. But that's a lot of where Future Gohan's value came for me, was from his domain expansion, and he wasn't
Stop
a
calling it
slot
that,
1
bro.
unit, he was a slot 2 and 3 unit, which, like I've said before, is something that 2023 had in spades.
See, I'm looking at this list. So, sorry,
Mhm.
I'm kind of looking. I'm thinking there seems to be a decent chunk of slot 1 units here from the list. I think you've got you got Kai Goku. I think was able to slot 1 in Omega.
Kai Goku.
Budo,
Huh?
as soon as they stand by, was just de facto slot 1 in both
Mhm.
events. You've got units like World Tournament Goku, who was a slot 1. I mean, yeah, he was just a slot 1. Can't really say he was a different slot.
Yeah.
Orange Piccolo, obviously, who was probably the best slot 1 in the game. I feel like we've got a decent chunk of slot 1s in this picture. That's why I'm kind of getting a little bit confused. A little. Like, can you explain that? Like, what's making them so special in this?
Well, part of it, like I said a few times, but like we disagree there, is they allow the team to work. Like, they allow Bulma to be on the team, but we've talked about that ad nauseum. Okay, let's look at some of the slot 1 units. Budoku, team isn't the greatest. He doesn't have great partners, and so that's part of what had him.
Is he
a
talking
bit
about
lower
World
for me.
Tournament Goku?
He
Not
can easily get caught
team?
after his
That was
first
like one of the
turn.
best things
He
about
has
him.
the 50, or just the first turn. But
Also,
he has a 50% chance to
Budoku is a
guard.
new one.
He can easily get caught like that. He's not going to be a slot 1 once his guard initially runs out. And his revive, let's be honest, you're never getting it. So that value's pretty much gone for him at being a slot 1 reliable unit. Kai
Was there
Goku,
a unit- Sorry, hold
Huh?
on. Before we move on, was there a unit? I can't remember what it was. What unit did he use to revive him? Was it
GT Duo.
GT Duo? That's it.
Yeah.
Or Gohan and Piccolo was one people used as well. Do you not think
damn
that
it,
factors in a little bit? Because wasn't that the
Why
whole
did I
strategy
stay
of World Tournament?
freaking
I'm
Claren?
sure. I mean, if Vector's here,
Should have switched.
feel free to speak up, Vector. I'll unmute you, film. But I feel like that was the whole strategy. Does that not kind of factor in here?
The problem with doing GT Duo is if you're running the Budokai Goku team, you're not getting the GT Duo revive until turn 3 or 4 at the earliest if you fall below the HP threshold, and maybe even turn 5. At that point, the fight's over against Fuji Zamasu.
What about Gohan
So-
and Piccolo? They were the ones
Gohan
who
and Piccolo.
used- Yeah.
Gonna be honest, I don't remember their revive.
Yeah, you use
condition
Gohan and Piccolo
exactly,
in
but also we're talking like
Fusamasu
at
once
end of
they
World
were
Wide
an
Celebration.
option.
They aren't out.
Did they come out after? I actually can't remember when they came out.
They were the
Yeah, they were near the end of
November
2023.
Part 1 release.
Okay, yeah, that's my bad. Sorry, I forgot about that.
No worries.
Okay, so World Tournament Goku, he's
He's
struggles
fine
with-
turn 1, but he loses his value as a slot 1 unit as soon as his guard goes away, and then he becomes guard or die.
Yeah. 4Q
Kai
as well.
Goku, he's not really going slot 1 against Fuji Zamasu. He hits too hard right out the gate, and he needs to build up. He's better
Well,
against
they-
Omega, but he's never really been an amazing slot 1 unit. He's an emergency slot 1 unit, but he isn't like a dedicated, I'm going to put Kai Goku in slot 1 and I'm going to feel completely safe. Sure, he has
I
a
don't
counter
know.
against Fusion Zamasu
Eh.
super attack.
Yeah, I'm kind of with
But-
Rhoady on that one.
He has
If you
comparable
don't
defense
counter
to
that.
Vegeta and Trunks. I swear to God, he has comparable
Hmm?
defense to Vegeta and Trunks. No,
Yeah, he does.
I don't fully
probably-
recall if he has
I'm
comparable
pretty sure.
defense.
I mean, I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think
don't
that's
know if
right.
someone
I
wants
think
to
Alan's
reply
right
to
about
it in the
that.
Chat, but I'm pretty sure once both were fully built up, that they were pretty close.
Sure, but this is an era where bosses are also hitting a lot harder than when Vegeta and Trunks were out. And this is like right out the gate.
For Omega, this is for like for Fusion Smash. If you want to argue this, I think that's fair. But let's focus on Omega just for the second because I want to just hammer the point home. So like for Omega, I don't know. Maybe someone can put the stats in chat. But
well, for Omega, Kai Goku, sure, he can go slot 1 for the start, but his guard does eventually run out against Omega if you're running him on the team, and then he loses the ability to go slot 1. Like, you are not putting him slot 1 against Int Omega once his guard runs out.
That's fair. That's fair, for sure.
Yeah, I feel like you can kind of play around that team building wise though, because that is quite late into the fight.
And he is on the team when I am running the GT Duo team against Omega. He's there to be a safe slot 2/3 unit. So, like, he is good. But he is not what I would call a dedicated slot 1 unit that allows the team to be synergized and working.
I would have to disagree, but we can move on from it because I don't want this to last too much longer. 4Q for Omega, I feel like he's just kind of better.
Yeah, he's a unit that exists.
You'd agree he's better for Omega. I don't agree with Fusion Mastery, but for Omega, he was just a better unit. Like, he was basically built for that fight.
4Q against Omega. I was never his fan.
Kai Goku was super hype.
He was literally built for that.
I didn't have anything to say, Kins. They pretty much got it.
Built for him.
Is this GT Duo before Gohan and Piccolo, and after Gohan and Piccolo came out, it was just them?
He damages Tech Omega a bit too much, and so you usually end up taking down the first phase very quickly. And so you end up against STR Omega without him being able to use his standby. And if he's in slot 1, he can get completely annihilated by a super attack. If he's in slot 2, he
should have
takes
switched
down
to
normals.
shit.
And so basically you're stuck in the base form, unable to transform, because you blitz through the first phase way too quickly. And he also screws up the rest of the team by not allowing them to build up. Tech Omega is the phase that doesn't hit hard, that allows you to build up the units that you want to build up. And Int 4Q goes, no, I don't think I will, and just annihilates Tech Omega in one turn. And so now you're left against STR Omega, an AoE boss with nearly, like, what was it, 600k AoEs, and none of your units have any build up. Congratulations, you've shot yourself in the foot. Enjoy this KO screen, or sorry, this game over screen. That's what I'm thinking with 4Q. I'm not a fan of him.
I kind of agree with Rhoady there.
That's a little bit unfair. I think that most of the time he had to standby up for that. I mean, how many attacks does Tech Omega do? There's quite a lot. I feel like I don't know.
I felt like he still had to get lucky to get that.
But I feel
turn
like,
1 at least.
I think that's a kind of hard one. I feel like he was just kind of better for Omega. But I mean, like VB, this seems like just an uber specific team that you're like going for here. I don't know if that's really fair because I feel like there were a lot of teams that were working better in the fight. Like Buduo, for example.
Like, there are other teams that worked better, like the GT Duo team. Best team in the game for the Omega fight because you just delete the final phase.
Yeah. So, but you're saying this, but so there's so many units in there that are doing so much more for the team in that fight. So how can you say VB was like top 3, top 4?
Oh god.
Because Vegito Blue allowed... So, part of his value was that he was a slot 1 unit that allowed the other slot 2 units to build up. Say the Z Duo, GT Duo, the 5th anniversary fusions, future Gohan, God Q. He allowed all them to just get their build up.
That's what I'm doing, Dark Shadow X. I'm using this chance to catch some rivals on stream that people will actually watch.
You were taking down Tech Omega by the time their guard ran out. Against STR Omega, you still had their natural guard if you really needed it, and you could probably fuse at the time as well. And they could continue to sit there in slot 1, support the rotation post-fusion with the 50% defensive support, and they just allowed the team to work. They are the foundation of the team. Part of why I had them as high as they were is because they're a foundation unit, not a structure unit. Like, so, the only reason that team exists and can function as well as it does is because they are laying the groundwork for the team.
But you agree that it's not were the best teams to fight. It may be one of the best teams, but it's not the best team to fight. So I don't understand how this is.
It's one of the better teams for the fight because, like, it's a team that you're not really going to lose with.
Okay. I mean, it's hard to kind of debate against this. I understand. I agree with some of your points, but it's hard to kind of argue with this because I kind of feel like some of these points are a little bit like super subjective. Like I don't know.
That is the thing. It's hard to have objective when it comes to a team building game full of RNG. Like, you're not going to have analysis of every single possible scenario that exists. A lot of it comes down to how well you're able to manage the team and just the synergy of it and how well it can deal with unexpected situations.
But these things are factored into that. You know, you're looking at when you rate these teams, you're looking at the best version. Mm-hmm. You know, you're looking at the average RNG. So, you know, even for boss attacks, you can just work out the average amount of attacks per slot. You know, you can work out the chances for each slot to have the super attack, which, that's all.
But for me, when it comes to best teams, it's not looking at, okay, who's the best team for the average turn. It's who's the best team that can deal with the most scenarios. So what is the team that can do things, like, that can continue on when things go wrong? Because
those two are analogous, though, already. They're like, if a team is the best on average in a single turn, they will be able to deal with the most in that fight. That's like, how are those two not the same thing? So, like superheroes, for example, they were the best team basically every single turn because they could deal with everything. If a team isn't the best on average on a single turn, or for most turns for that matter, how are they? You know, it's the same thing. How is that not the exact same thing?
Well, for the Vegito team, like, you're able to deal with all these average turns, like, too. Like, everyone on the team is able to tank the super attack, but on the other side, you also have the recoverability and the support, and the only reason that the team can deal with all that is because they're giving the support and they're laying that foundation. Superheroes, sure, they were able to deal with everything too. Gamma 1 might get psyched by a super attack because he wasn't the greatest defensively if you didn't have good RNG. But yeah, if you get what I'm saying.
So let's try and move on. We'll just make a final point about this. So looking at your tier list, I think that...
Oh boy, Shadow, I don't know if I can do that. I haven't even touched World Tournament myself yet.
So you said Bulma and Orange Piccolo were better. Merge Zamasu...
No way I'm playing that mode.
I think probably was better, but I think you disagree.
Like, when we got Fusion Zamasu's detail, I was like, okay, this unit is better in a vacuum, but Vegito has the better synergy.
Okay. 5th years? Do you not think they're better?
Oh god, the Switch.
I don't. They are
If I lose this,
vulnerable
I'll
to
clear and
AoEs,
ditto them.
which is a very big notion in the Fusion Zamasu fight.
Okay. GT Duo?
GT Duo, I would not, because, again, they're vulnerable to AoEs, they're not a slot 1 unit, and they need to... They just aren't the best for the Fusion Zamasu fight because they need to build up and they can take damage from the AoE.
Hold on, just to clarify. We've got to split the Omega and the Fusion Zamasu fight up. We can't talk about both at the same time. So this is just for the Omega fight at the moment.
Okay.
So
for the Omega fight, I would
got me
probably
again,
have
shit.
the GT Duo.
Okay. So the GT Duo, Boo Duo, I think you probably agree as well. Any others?
Well, if we're just talking about the Omega fight, I would have the Z Duo at 1.
Oh
GT
god,
Duo
Alan is not gonna agree
For
with
the Omega
that.
fight specifically.
GT Duo?
2 or 3. And then Bulma right behind.
So where is Vegito going in this list?
If we're just talking Omega,
Yeah.
maybe bottom of top 5, second half of top
Oh.
10.
So just to clarify, does that not kind of automatically mean you agree? Because you had Ultron around 5-ish, didn't you?
But here's the thing. Doesn't the exact placement on a list isn't the same thing as like how good the unit is. So let's look at what's a good example. Okay, here's one. The 7th anniversary LRs on release.
Oh, that was an interesting
versus SCR
interaction.
Beast. Who's the better unit?
STR Beast.
Right, but they're both 1 at the time. So
What do you mean both?
there's an exact counter to your argument. You're saying because Ultimate Gohan was higher on a tier list at his time than Vegito Blue might have been, that makes him better when that's not, obviously not the case. STR Beast was at 1,
Oh, God,
the 7th
oh, God.
anniversary LRs were at 1. Beast is clearly the better unit despite them both being 1.
Well, I don't really agree with that kind of like breakdown of it. To be honest, I feel like they're both 1. It doesn't really matter. You know, obviously, in terms of how they beat events, sure they may differ, but that doesn't really matter. I mean, maybe we've come into this and we've kind of got a disagreement or like a misunderstanding of what we were talking about. But this is for rankings. Like when we talk about how good the units are, it's just in rankings. Like I agree that there's it's not as nuanced as that. Like in reality, there's differences in how strong they actually are. The tier list is not everything.
Oh,
But
God.
if we just to like clarify here, if we're talking about specifically rankings, you think Alt-Han, in terms of rankings, was higher than VB on release?
Like, if we're talking VB against Omega, Ultimate Gohan was at a smaller number than Vegito Blue was.
Okay. All right. Let's leave it at that for Omega. Let's quickly do Mercy Master,
see.
and then we'll call it.
So did Rhoady just say that old Gohan was better in Omega?
Merge and Masu, what is your list looking like for G?
Yo, what's up, Chaotic?
Orange Piccolo 1, Vegito Blue 2, Fusion Zamasu 3,
Wait, hold on, sorry. So Orange Piccolo 1,
VB 2,
BB
Fusion Zamasu 3.
Really?
VB2.
Yes, because they're able to just, like I said before, they're able to just sit in slot 1, able to tank everything Fusion Zamasu is throwing out, and they were one of the best defensive units on release.
I don't know. Is that true? I think they were very good for Merge.
No,
I'm not the best.
they were absolutely one of the best defensive units in the game on release.
I think Orange Piccolo was probably better. I mean, you said Orange Piccolo was
Not
better.
until he built up. Orange Piccolo without his
Alan
is gonna
have a problem with that.
Big damage against Fusion Zamasu.
Big damage. That
hold
is a lie. That is not.
Okay,
real.
Yeah.
he's taking damage.
He's taking a bit of damage. He's taking like 200.
He's taking a bit of
300
damage. Yes,
which I don't class
and
as big
that's
damage. Like, that's like
from the AoE.
that's
he's taking a
livable
lot of
damage.
damage.
Like
He wasn't
The
taking
AoE?
damage from the
What?
Yeah, no.
I was gonna run
Rhoady's
Orange
tripping
Piccolo.
there.
I saw him take like 100k from the AoE and slot
Nah.
2/3 without any build-up. Like he takes damage. He's not a slot 1 unit right at the start because if he gets sniped by a super attack, he's dead. He needs to build up.
I'm with Alan on this.
I think
one.
he has to build up a bit. That does not sound true to me. If he gets
Yeah, I'm with Alan on this
first
part.
attack, I don't even think he dies. In fact,
No,
I
he
know
absolutely does.
Nah, there's no way that's true.
No.
That's not true.
If it's like the very first
Like,
attack,
maybe we
maybe,
go fact check
but
this afterwards. But there is absolutely no way he dies from a super attack from Merchamaster like instantly. He might. I might be wrong. I will happily admit I'm wrong on that. But I never remember that happening.
And the Blues, they take like 200k from a super attack right out the gate if they get hit by one.
But that doesn't make sense. They're at like 400k defense, 420k defense ish. He's like, what is he, like 200 ish? With 20% damage reduction too. How is he dying but they're not?
They have higher defense.
Nah, Rhoady, I think you're capping on this one, bro.
I think you're capping on this one, bro.
That is definitely a cap. Like that. There's no way that's
Yeah, I'm with Alan on this one.
We'll move on, but I think that's
If you wanted to put Tech Orange Piccolo like at 2, maybe, but I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, we'll move on. We'll go to the next one.
We'll move on.
So it was Orange Piccolo, VB, Merchamasu.
I don't think it really matters from there because we're just talking about like where VB is, right?
Yeah, but I kind of want to get. I mean, I just want to scope out what units you're putting VB above just at the time. Honestly, my memory's kind of a little bit hazy. I can't lie. Like, I'm trying to think of what units like I remember how they performed, but I can't remember what. Like, I don't know what units you'd have. Like, honestly, I'm being real. I don't even remember what I had Vegeta at the time, but it probably was like 5 or 6. So I'm just trying to think of who I would have above him. So
I'm
would
gonna
have had
pull
OP.
up my tier list from end of 2023.
Do you not have Bulma above? Do you think Bulma's above or not?
Uh-oh.
I think Bulma can have an argument. The problem with Bulma above the AGL Blues against Fusion Zamasu,
Bulma was
is
definitely better than
just-
the Blues. There's no way.
she's only being run on their team.
I mean, that is not true at all. You run on
So
23Q's
what
team, bro.
Yeah, okay,
That
that's
just
fine.
leads
Yeah.
to like
That is just
their
not
value
true.
as the leader. Like the only reason you can run Bulma against Fusion Zamasu is because the Blues exist.
That is not true, Rhoady. Come on.
What about Budo?
You are absolutely
Against
running
Fusion
Bulma on
Zamasu? No.
23Q's team. Please be real.
They
Come on.
lose a bit
Come
of
on.
value there for me.
You know, okay. Really?
They
You
have
don't
their
think they're
natural
quite
guard,
good?
but they can still take a lot of damage. They're not going slot 1. They were fine for the Power Beyond Super Saiyan mission, but that's really where their contribution for the Fusion Zamasu fight started and ended for me.
Do you not think a big factor with the Putin Zamasu fight is killing the first phase as soon as possible? Because that is the phase that usually screws up the most units.
For me, I'm fine just lingering on that phase because what always screws up, in my experience, my dislike for the Fusion Zamasu fight was it was purely an opening rotation simulator. If we're talking like we have rotations set, the Fusion Zamasu fight becomes a cakewalk. It doesn't matter how long you spend on that first phase, you're just going to be walking through it. What really screws you over is when you start a turn and you don't have a unit who can sit in slot 1 and eat a super attack. And then
I think what
have
they're
the rest
talking about right
rotation
now
eat
just
AoEs.
depends on the team, really.
That's the big issue that you would have with the Fusion Zamasu fight. But if you're able to just like assume right out the gate you can throw blue duos in slot 1 against Fusion Zamasu, easy fight.
I don't know. Again, this is really coming down to the team thing with me. Like, I don't give a shit about this like team variant stuff, if I'm being honest.
And that's
Like-
part of where like my big value for VB comes from is the fact that they let you run the team.
Yeah.
I don't think that team was the best at the time, though. I think Superheroes was.
It wasn't the best, but it was pretty good. Although
During Fusion Zamasu, no.
I think Rhodey's Superheroes was definitely better than
Superheroes is
AGLVB's
better
team.
than
Come on,
VB.
Rhoedy. Come on,
Well,
bro.
what's your complete
Come on,
superhero
brah.
team against Fusion Zamasu? I saw someone say,
Oh.
"What's the debate?"
Come
here
on,
about?"
brah.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're trailing off.
Come
a
on,
little
bro.
bit. We'll wrap
It,
up in
it
a
is
sec.
going off in tangents.
Look, I my ideal team, off the top of my head, probably quite similar to what I've got there. I'd probably replace Gamma 2 with Physical 17.
Oh,
Who was
God.
even out for Superheroes at the time? It was, you
You
can
guys
even
like
run
Farmer,
Earthbred Fighters, but
Loxodon?
I think Earthbred Fighters was a decent team for that time. You could actually run. You could run VB on Superheroes as well. That's another unit you could run slot 2 or something like that.
Problem. Yeah.
I'm not prepared. Ignore
Yeah,
that
I
I
get
said
you, I
that.
get
I'm
you.
not prepared to bring up a team at the time. But I think Superheroes, in general, maybe this can be like a retrovist point. People in the comments of whatever in general and stuff like that, or whatever video it goes on, can talk about. But I think Superheroes is probably arguably better at the time. And if we're saying,
Nah, I think Superheroes was definitely
I mean,
better.
there's people in. I'm not going to bring up people talking too much, but there's people saying Superheroes was better in the VC chat at the moment. Someone said Ohan, OP, Gamma 1, future Gohan. No, I'm not listening to that guy. No, you're wrong, bro.
I think we can all agree though that Tech Ultimate Gohan was the best unit in the game.
That's true.
Yeah.
Let's end it. I think that look, I've enjoyed this. I think that if we're going to conclude, based purely on rankings, this is what I was coming in to discuss. Based purely on rankings, you agree during VB's initial release, Alt-Han had the smaller number. He was, number 2 to 4, whatever we said.
Yes, Ultimate
I'd put him at number
Gohan
2.
on release would have been rated higher on a 1 out of 10 scale than, or sorry, not like a 1 out of 10 scale, but like in a top 10 than Vegito Blue.
Okay. I think that
I can agree with that.
When it comes to the Merge Mash stuff, I see us getting nowhere because I don't think either of us are going to agree on that stuff. Maybe that's something we can talk about at a later date. But I just want to say thank you for coming. Whatever the outcome may be in the eye of the public for this one, please no one send hate to Rhoady or me, please.
Please.
I think that I had a lot of fun. Even if I saw some people saying it was boring, it's going to be a little bit boring, bro.
That's debates, bro.
Yeah, we're
debates
just
are boring.
High level. It was never supposed to be, we're not dancing monkeys.
Nah, bro, we
We're
want blood
discussing
sports.
the game.
Blood
We're trying to
sports.
have a good discussion.
Blood sports.
Maybe future ones will be,
We're not on Twitter sending 140 character messages at each other trying to get an own so that the other person can get
Nah, give me blood sports.
Be like, oh.
I will say I massively prefer this to Twitter. I think Twitter is dog shit, and I think it's because people who know nothing talk a lot of shit. That's what I'm going to say.
And I've talked with some people in VC, and they say like I come off over text a lot harsher than I do over VC, and I think that's because I suck at texting.
Nah, people who said that to me. People always said I came across condescending. I definitely was at some points being condescending, but a lot of the time I wasn't. And I think I think Twitter is
Alan. At some point,
That's when truth pops in.
maybe a good 50% of the time I might be, but Twitter's behind us. Twitter's dead. I don't think we should use
Twitter's dead. Abolish the site.
Platform. Let's migrate into this dead.
I have to use Twitter. It's my job.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Anyway, look, let's wrap it up there. I really enjoyed it. Thank you, Rhoady, for coming along.
Thanks for having me, Alan.
Yeah, no, it was a pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Alright, well, that was the debate chat. Holy
you know,
shit, that was fun.
If you enjoyed it, guys in VC or anyone, if the video comes out, if you enjoy it, join the server. Let us know. Let us, give some feedback. I might make a feedback channel. Maybe we'll get the mods on it. But thank you guys. I won't go on any longer. Thank you guys for coming.
Next, we'll discuss if physical Super Saiyan 2 Gohan is good enough or not.
Yes, please. I want to do Gohan versus Go Frieza. That's one I'll do with someone. I'll do Gohan versus Go Frieza. Is it over? They gone?
Go into general and listen to. Maybe we get some feedback from the guys in general. What'd you say?
Let's head to general.
All right.
Sounds good.
He could have stomped the shit out of me there. Alright, after this game of Rivals, okay, it's over. Alright, chat, thanks for stopping by to my reaction to Rhoady and Alan's debate. That was a fun time. I'll post it in chat real quick. I'll post the invite link in chat. The icon Alan made for it is super funny, by the way. Is it doing this crap? Look, it says hidden, use copy button, and then when you use the copy button, it copies hidden, use copy button. This is so. Is anyone in the Discord? Send a link to to debate talk. All right, Shadow, I can't find it. I'll DM it to you later. Okay, there we go. Thanks, bring her down. Alright, I'll catch you guys later.